additional feedback
No.
from AES,
It says
I
what it
give you
says.
that info.
It says what it says, and we probably could pick another 25 properties that would show that there is.
Because I was surprised by that.
It does say that. It
Right.
says what it says, that just is the way a scientific study is on those particular sites.
I had a conversation with the AES fellas, and I questioned their putting deer as #1 as a recommendation. And what they said is, it's based on other scientific studies of this area. It's based on our observation of the effect of browse, not just the data. But I questioned it as well, and I did not steer them. If I wouldn't,
I'm not
I wouldn't,
suggesting that.
I wouldn't have
I'm telling you, I
necessarily
never
put
said
it
that
in
you
that
did.
order,
I never
but
said
that
that.
was their selection.
And I'm not saying I'm against culling. I don't know if I have a favor or against it. I just was wondering about, how
Sure.
this was, how that
Sure.
conclusion was reached.
Sure.
That's what we're doing.
Mr. Clayton, would you like to say something?
Just say it, the same,
Hold on.
Lincoln
Mr. Dennis,
said-
you have other people who's trying to say something before you.
can I say something?
No. John's been trying to talk for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, but he doesn't count.
Hey, I'm a voter, so be careful. We'll cut your salary. Yes, John Norris, 408 Palmer Court. At the risk of giving Chuck a heart attack, I want to say that I think Chuck was right. Listening to this, that I think what you need to do is get all of your goals together, which is the committees together, figure out what are the goals that you want. And I think that answers Mike's question too, because that's what this board can do and has done. Talking about how to do the garlic mustard, the program's there, the mayor said it, he's going to be able to fine tune it so that it works better than what we established originally. We had good reasons to want to spread the money. Okay, it's not being spread, so if we adjust it to where you can get it every year, fine. But you need to figure out what it is that you need, and this group is able to represent everyone. The RPC is, I don't want to say special interest because that has such a negative connotation.
It is.
But it is, it's a parochial group. They come with their ideas and they're aimed in that direction. But the board then has to consider how it does impact deer. And Chuck hit it perfectly inadvertently as well when he talked about using herbicides because we just had a concern about what we're putting on the ground. To him, that's a good way to remove the plants, but you're concerned as well at the same time. So I certainly think his recommendation of the two committees getting together, forming goals, and then letting somebody else do the grunt work is probably a very good idea.
I would like to limit the conversation down for a little bit, but I'll listen to a couple more people.
I just want to say one thing. Is
Your
that
name?
I think, oh yeah, I'm sorry, Miguel Electronic at 2941 Orange Base Road. I think what's really important here is that there are specific measurable goals in mind when all this is done. If the two committees or the boards, they decide, okay, this is of the utmost importance, we give this on a scale of 1 to 10, we give it an 8. All right, how do you measure that? What time do you give it, and how do you measure it? Is it working? Because things do change. We measure one thing only to find out something else happens. So if you work it concurrently and there's something that's specifically measurable, then you can always go back and look at the data and make other choices if they're appropriate.
Anybody else? I'm sorry.
I've been here.
Introduce yourself, Howard.
You was some back here.
No, good. Tell them who we are, for the record.
Fine.
Your name.
Give jury your name, Howard, your name and
Yeah.
address.
Howie, your name.
Howard Patterson.
There you
Your
go.
address.
Komisikiam.
Your address.
Jerry, the address, Howie.
475 Long Meadow Road.
Okay.
Now talk.
Oh, right. Yeah. One of the things that I observed, I'm 86 years old, so I mean basically semi-retired for 20 years. It means I've observed and I take my dog out every day and I've walked to all portions of the place and seen what's happened. I've seen what happened. We don't plant anything out where the deer can get at it anymore. We used to have beautiful lilacs. It used to be all the way up, down different places on Thorn Meadow. They're not there anymore. I went out and I thought I was going to feed the deer. I put a cage around it and I forgot to put one on top of it. and I came back the second day, it was gone. And this is what happens to our planting. And I don't think there's anybody here who does any kind of planting, hasn't had the same kind of experience on it. And I read the RPC. I think it's a start on moving forward. And one of the things that happened, and I think according to this village government, that it has moved forward. It has moved forward in ways that it never did before. And I think I'm very encouraged by what's happening here. And I think that you know, you're responsible for some of what the things that are going to do. And I think you just go ahead and read them, but understand that that presentation that was made here, if it needs to be looked at a little bit, if this is one of the things that needs to be brought up. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I think we will continue this at the next meeting. We have something to request by that, hopefully. Anybody else want to say anything about this? Because I don't want to shut anybody off. Yes, ma'am.
Well, Janet Gowan, 716 Greenwood. I'm sorry, what's that?
Well, repeat it.
Janet Gowan, 716 Greenwood Road. And I just wanted to comment on something that Sherry said. We have beautiful gardens. We have a lot of very mature oaks, 400- or 500-year-old oaks and trees. Last year I went out and my garden was disappearing because I didn't have any lights. And it wasn't because I can't, but I wouldn't cut down these trees. So I brought in climbers and I selectively pruned all the tops of the trees. And this year I had the best garden. So there are other options without cutting down the trees.
David Rossi? Dr. Rossi?
Probably, yeah, I would say. You know, the key thing is knowing when to stop talking, but that's always been my problem. I just wanted to relay a little experience.
This is the last one we're going to have.
I just want to relay a little experience to you in terms of forest management. Like in Illinois, if you got an upland oak hickory forest and how you manage that. You know, when I was in school, they used to call that a climax forest, and I never believed that because the climax forest is one that self-perpetuates. And the point I'm getting to is the balance between the deer and shade. And in terms of classic forestry, you know, you're managing your woodland for some product, you know, other benefits. There's always, you know, the wildlife and all those kind of things. But to pay for all this, you do some timber harvesting. And if you want to perpetuate the natural reproduction in an oak hickory woodland, you have to cut that woodland. I mean selectively cut it about once every 30 years, because the only place, due to the shade, I mean, you know, Mother Nature doesn't plant any trees, puts a whole lot of seeds and acorns and stuff out, and a very small percentage of them germinate. What happens is the oak woodlands, left to their own devices, will only grow in two ways. When a big old tree dies, it creates a hole, and this buckthorn has complicated this process, but it's not to replace it as buckthorn. So the small, the oaks and the others start to reproduce in this opening. The other place they grow is from the edges, and when they reach agriculture, they stop expanding. I'll give you a quick example. We have a developer client up by McHenry that has 1,400-acre property, and right in the middle of it is what he calls his core woodlands. And you can go out there, and this is really interesting, you can go out there and you can see all the original mama trees. Some people call them Regis, I call them mama trees. And how does this process work? All these trees get established, you know, for various reasons, and fire and all these other kinds of things. But anyway, they start dropping acorns. So you start to generate this reproduction all the way around those individual trees. They're all pretty much the same age. So you get this ring, if you will, of trees that grow up. And of course, they thin out that over time. You can look at this piece of land and see 5 different